I'm so excited to be filming this video. We're going to be talking about the newest collaboration between Adept Cosmetics and Amy Loves Makeup. I'm so excited for Amy and the two beautiful products that are launching. I did receive this in PR, so thank you so much to Adept and Amy for sending these products over to me, and I do have an affiliate code with Adept Cosmetics. It is Millie. So let's get right into the two products that are launching. I've been watching Amy for many years. I still remember the brick background, so that's how long I've been watching her, and she's just the sweetest indie makeup queen. So let's take a look at the palette. It has a beautiful, very glittery, very sparkly packaging that just feels so perfect for Amy, and the inside color story is Amy's perfect cool toned palette. She loves cooler tones, and make sure you check out her announcement video where she explains kind of the whole idea behind the palette as well as the shade names and why she chose certain colors. So we have 5 mattes, 1 multi-chrome, 1 holographic eyeshadow, and the rest are some beautiful varying textures. And then the second product that's launching is a face palette, and it also has the glittery packaging, but this time it is all pink and it is so girly. And so on the inside there's 2 highlighters. They're kind of like blushy highlighters, especially this one, and then there's 2 matte blushes. And this collection is launching May 1st, 9 a.m. Mountain Time, and the palette will retail for $69 and the face palette will be $34. And if you buy those individually, you can use a code, but if you want to buy the whole bundle, it will be discounted at $90 and you cannot use a code on top of that. And I'm going to show you both the blushes and the highlighters applied on the cheeks, and then I'm also going to be showing you individual swatches of each of the shimmer shadows, and then we'll get into a couple of comparison swatches, and then I'll be creating 2 looks with the palette. So let's get right into it. The first shade is a beautiful pink, very light pink iridescent with a little bit of blue in it as well. It is a stunner. Pink is a beautiful cool toned pale pink. It feels very smooth to the touch. It is not the sparkliest, but it definitely has a bit of sparkle in it, just like lights up. Next shade is Floral, also very smooth, but still retaining the shine. And this one looks like a mauve type of pink, a little bit darker than the shade pink. Next is Glam, definitely the sparkliest shade in here. It is a little bit reminiscent of the Minka sparkly neutral shades, but this one is not nearly as flaky, but the texture feels a little bit similar. It has almost a little bit of a, you can like feel the particles in it. It feels a little gritty, but not in an irritating way whatsoever. And this one has a plummy tone to it. You can really see it in the base. Next up is Pisces. The shade is so beautiful, very different. It is a duochrome. It's very smooth. It does have a little bit of give when you push down on it. And this one has a stunning periwinkle base, like a darker periwinkle base, a little bit more than a pastel. And I see a yellow flash straight on, but it has just a little bit of greenness to it. Next up is a Lavender, which is a multi-chrome, and this one is super smooth, and it has a really bright flash, pink straight on, with a bit of a teal base, and it shifts to yellow, gold, aqua, teal. It's very shifty. Next shade is Indie, and this is a hollow shadow. I would actually kind of consider this a holochrome. It does have a shift to purple from teal, and of course all the hollow flecks throughout it. It's very smooth but doesn't feel squishy. Stunning is slightly blue toned silver. This one is very smooth and very metallic, not sparkly like Lights Up or Pink. Caramel is a super smooth, very sparkly, beautiful metallic shade, and this one has just a little bit of tone to it. It's a little bit like a gold. And the last shade is Vibes, and this is a really sparkly, beautiful gunmetal charcoal shade. I feel like it has a little bit of a tone to it, specifically in the base, like when you smooth it out on the edges. I feel like I see a little bit of a plum, so it's not your average gunmetal. Primed with the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer. I'm taking a Mi Amor, and I'm going to start that on the outer corner and slowly blend it into the inner crease, and then just blend it upwards. Just going to take a little bit more in here blend up and just keep blending. And I got that blue down, so I'm going to go in with Scrunchy, and it's just going to go on the outer corner just to deepen up a little bit, and a little bit underneath my lower lash line, which I'm going to switch my brush to get a precise application right up against my lash line. Just taking Scrunchy and blending it up and out. I'm going to switch to the previous brush, the more fluffy blending. This is the Refer 13. I'm going to take it to the edges of it. Putting down just a tiny bit of the Fairnay Pixie epoxy. I'm just going to tap on it, make sure I don't have too much on. Picked up Pisces. I'm going to put that right in the center and going into my outer corner. And then wiping off the brush, I'm taking Lavender on the inner corner. Oh, this one is so sparkly. It looks very smooth, but it is very sparkly. I feel like it kind of stuck down a little bit from the glitter primer. There we go, just blending it up into my crease there. And then I'm going to be using Lights Up as an inner corner highlight. I'm just going to use my pinky and just pop that right in here. And here's the first finished look. I'm going to be using the Cupid blush. Just going to be putting that right here. Get real blushy, definitely very buildable. So I feel like this is a little bit less built up, and then this cheek is a little bit more built up. So now let me even them out a bit more. I'm gonna top that off with just a little bit of Eris right up here. Definitely a blushing kind of highlighter. Layers so nicely over this shade. It looks really, really nice. This one has for sure a little bit of sparkle to it. And I'm just using this blending brush from Lethal Cosmetics. A lot of times if a brush is too big for my liking for my eyes, I just end up using it as a highlighter blush. So here's the full cheek done. Picking up Mishka from the blush palette, and I'm just going to use this to kind of bridge between my blush since I'm going to be using it as blush. I love this name. It means mouse, like a little mouse in Czech, but it's spelled a little bit differently. It doesn't have the H, it just has an accent on the S. So I'm just adding on a little bit more in here. And then I'm going to take the Refer 14 Mini and the shade Billion Much. Also make sure you check out Amy's video on all the meanings behind all the names. Super, super fun to hear the reasoning behind the shade names. And I'm just going to take it underneath my lower lash line a little bit as well, just to connect down here, switching my brush a little bit, and then I'm just blending it into the pink. And then I'm going to go back in with this brush. I'm not picking up anymore, I'm just blending the edges. And then I'm going to go in with Mocha. I want to put it in here, but in the other eye I used a different brush and I don't love how it applied it. So I'm going to use a different brush, like a more fluffy brush, and I'm just going to very lightly dip into here. And it's very pigmented, so I'm actually going to wipe off a little bit. I'm just going to pop that into the inner corner, or inner crease rather. So it makes it even more kind of smoky. And then I'm going to use Floral. I'm just going to use my finger. Look at how shiny! And I'm going to pop that right here, a little bit onto the outer corner and a little bit onto the inner lid. This shade is so metallic, it looks wet on the lid. And then taking pink on my pinky, I'm just gonna pop that onto the inner lid and up a little bit, and then blend it into the pink. And then I picked up Stunning and I misted my brush with just some water, and it's gonna go right underneath my lower lash line. Here's the second finished look. I dipped into Mishka with the Refer 05 brush, and I'm just gonna go in with a pretty light hand and just build it up, and I'm gonna kind of bring it up into the eyeshadow a little bit. And then same thing on this side. Just going all pinky for this look. Just gonna take a little bit more. My foundation has been on for a bit, and I did have glasses on, so I tried my best to fix it. So here's what the blush looks like, and we're gonna add a little bit of Athena just up on the highest part of my cheekbone, just a little bit. And here's what that looks like. So again, huge congratulations to you, Amy and Adept, on this beautiful collaboration. I'm just so excited about this. I'm just so excited to see Amy do this collaboration with Adept. It's a match made in heaven. Amy has loved and supported Adept Cosmetics for such a long time. I definitely had my fingers crossed for a collaboration. So let's talk about some of my thoughts on the blush palette first. Blush and highlighter palette. Love the highlighters. These are definitely the kinds of highlighters I like. They are a little bit like sparkly, not in a sense that there's like glitter sitting on top of your cheek or anything like that. It is a very beautiful, smooth formula. This doesn't accentuate any skin texture or anything like that. It is so beautiful. I do want to try to apply it with a finger actually a little bit too. And then onto the blushes. I do prefer Cupid just for my personal preference. I don't wear a lot of cool toned pinks, but I definitely love me a coral blush, and these are removable, so you can kind of move them around if you want. So moving on to the eyeshadow palette, as I mentioned, it is the perfect cool tone palette that Amy has curated based on her preferences and what she likes. She didn't want to add any mattes that were too light because those might not work well for medium and deeper skin tones. The mattes are pretty pigmented, but they are definitely buildable. You just have to go in with a light hand with your brush, just dip in a little bit, and you can blend it out, and you can kind of build on top of that. I love to deepen up my outer corner. Plenty of opportunities to play with in here, and then you could also pair this with the blush palette. Obviously the blushes are formulated to be for the cheeks, so they are even more buildable than the mattes in here. I really like how the pink added to this look, especially pairing it with pink and floral that's in the palette. Pisces is such a beautiful and unique shadow. I really love that one. Definitely very drawn to that one. It is such an interesting shade. I love that there's a holographic shade, and Indie is really the perfect name for it, and it is very smooth. None of these shades feel like extremely squishy or wet to the touch. Some of them have a little bit of give, specifically Pisces when you're really pushing down in the pan, and then Glam is a little bit more on the texture side, so definitely recommend some sort of a glitter primer with that one, as you might experience fallout, but it is not as flaky and textured as in the makeup palette, which is definitely a plus. I did wear Pisces and Lavender for about a little less than 8 hours, maybe like 6-ish hours, and I had the tiniest bit of creasing over the Fahrenheit Pixie Epoxy and over the Pat McGrath eyeshadow primer, but I was able to easily just tap it out. So if you have hooded oily lids, definitely recommend some sort of a tacky primer that dries down, and also making sure you're not using too much. Also, same thing goes for Glam. Make sure you're not using too much. I love that there's different finishes and textures in here. Lights Up Pink and Floral and Caramel are like my favorite formulas from Adept Cosmetics. Those are like really nice because they're very smooth, especially Lights Up and Pink. It's like a very ethereal, sparkly, but very smooth, but kind of a little bit drier feeling, but not in a bad way. Just, it's a formula that is just so beautiful and has a lot going for it. So I love to see that there's a bunch of shades like that in this palette. So those are some of my initial thoughts on the eyeshadow palette and the blush palette. Let me know in the comments below if you plan on picking anything up. I would love to hear your thoughts, and if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, and thank you so much for watching. I hope to see you next time.